Everyone. This is Rosalind Sedacca, founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network, and you're listening to WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network, and our show is Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with Rosalind Sedacca. As you know, every week I invite special guests who have valuable information to share with us about anything related to the universe of divorce and dating, being single, having children and parenting. And I'm very excited to introduce you to today's guest because January is International Child-Centered Divorce Month. And Janet is one of our featured sponsors for International Child-Centered Divorce Month. And she's a friend and colleague of mine, and she has a great wealth of information to share with you. So I want you to meet Janet Price, and I want to ask Janet to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about what you do in the divorce equation.
Thank you, Rosalind. I'm so excited to be here. And what an amazing thing you have done for the past 16 years to have the International Child-Centered Divorce. That is serving so many families. And so thank you for bringing that awareness and elevating it. I'm Janet Price. I'm a certified divorce specialist, conscious co-parenting coach, certified co-parenting specialist, and my why for being in this space is I was a child product of a high conflict divorce. I was in 6th grade when my parents divorced, and it was such high conflict that I chose to have no contact with one of my parents once I went off to college for many, many years. And it was back and forth, as well as when both of the parents did come to my college graduation. I was so physically uncomfortable in that college graduation that I actually almost chose not to walk through the ceremony because of how uncomfortable I felt having my parents be in the same physical space with me. Wow. So my why is helping parents from the beginning or anywhere through the process really figure out how to successfully co-parent in their co-parenting dynamic to end the generational trauma and keep their children out of the middle.
It's so important. And it's very interesting that Janet and I work together and collaborate a lot because we work with different clients. And while the Child-Centered Divorce Network attracts clients who know that they are focused on putting the children first in the divorce equation, many people, as you know, are not fortunate enough to have both parents in alignment about that. And if one parent isn't or both parents isn't, then usually the divorce becomes an even higher conflict situation. And that's when I want to bring Janet into the picture because she specializes in high conflict divorces. Why don't you talk a little bit more about that, Janet?
Absolutely. So my work with parents is actually, I only work one-on-one with an individual parent. If both parents agree, that would be fine for me to work with both of them, but I don't seek to have them, shall we say, in high conflict, try to work out their communication issues. So rather, in the world, I help them shift to their new dynamic called the business partnership of co-parenting. And in doing so, I help them really look at what they have control over and what they can do on their part to help themselves, help their children, to help disengage and reduce the conflict.
Yeah. And reducing the conflict, as you could well imagine, is a challenging situation. So what are some of the strategies that you utilize to make sense of this for your clients and help them create a relationship of any level so that the children can be protected and the divorce can commence in the best possible way?
So I have clients prior to divorce, sometimes in the middle, and many times right after or several years later, who have been struggling. And the very first thing, like you, Rosalind, the very first thing is I sort of help them take a step back and shine the light on what it feels like to be a child product of divorce, just like, and so in my experience, I have that. So I have an inside where I can share with them. I also, if in my group coaching, I also show them the movie Split. If you all haven't seen it, it is really useful. And it shows children from the ages of 3 to 12 and ask them very specific questions of how they are experiencing their own parents' divorce. So I set them first in the remember this is how your children are feeling it. And that no matter what shifts them, takes it away from the other parent and puts them right where they need to be, which is paying attention to their children. And then we start talking about your relationship with your partner as you were married is now over and done, and we are in this business relationship, and what a business partnership relationship the key avenues are, and have them really think in that mindset, have them begin starting to think, set their own internal boundaries, because when high conflict comes when one or the other or both are enmeshed in each other's emotions. And that's because we're stuck in the intimate partner communication dynamic. So if we can separate and see it, then we can easily, more clearly see and put boundaries. Whether we communicate those boundaries or not, we are able to provide boundaries, and that immediately brings the conflict down. The next strategy I use is I begin teaching them how important communication is, how important it is to set yourself up before any communication for the state of mind that you want to be delivering, from your body language. You see, I'm a pretty big body language person. From a body language, from your tone, and from the words. And then I begin teaching them communication styles. So those are pretty much some of the keys.
I love that you brought up the fact that we have to disengage the two parents and stop making it about their relationship and their conflict, and start focusing back into thinking about this is about our kids, because that shifts everything for them. And then you could communicate with the parent in a much more sane way, right?
Absolutely. Actually, one of the programs, I had a group coaching program last week, and a gentleman is a business owner, and he kept inserting. So he resonated with this. And anytime he was sort of questioning something, he said, okay, well, let's look at this business relationship and this co-parenting. What would you do, because you own your business, if your employees weren't following? And wouldn't you change how you were setting up to, because it's your bottom line, it's your dollar. And so wouldn't you change how you are so that you can make the most in your bottom line? And he said, well, of course, of course, I'm not going to walk in when I really see that they're doing something first thing in the morning and start talking to them, because I've learned I make them mad. So I get a cup of coffee and sit and relax and get to know them a little bit before I come and correct them. And I said, okay, that's exactly your bottom line for co-parents in this level. Their bottom line, bottom dollar in this business relationship is healthy, thriving, emotionally stable adult children. You both can agree on that. Underneath that, how that gets there, we don't know. You both may have different opinions. So focus on your lane. Focus on what you can do.
I like that. Focus on your lane. So do you have clients sometimes where both parents don't agree that we want to create healthy, mature children who are going to function well in their lives? Are there some parents who are just so caught up in my drama that they're not even caring about the outcome for the kids?
The uniqueness of me only working with one parent and they're clear, even if I'm working with both sides, but then I'm working with one, is that we keep it focused on them. And so, no, I've never had that. And if I've just never had that. And I can't imagine any parent in the universe that would, if you ask them, what do you want your children to be when they're 20, 25, what they would say, what do you want for your children? I can't imagine anyone that would answer, oh, I want them to be struggling emotionally. I want them to not figure out how to have gone off to their next thing. I want them to be living with me for the rest of my life. I mean, I just can't imagine that anybody without the other parent. It might be a different story if the other parent were there, right? Because then we get sucked in. But because it's almost as there's a very clear distance because I only work with one directly.
Yeah. So do you teach these clients strategies? You work on communication skills, and you show them that they may not have been approaching everything in the best way for making progress. This is that part of the process that you're using?
Yes. So I have one-on-one coaching, which is very unique to where they are. And I walk them through without any PowerPoint slides or anything like that. I give them, certain homework assignments. And then I have 2 group coaching programs. One is intended for couples who are divorcing using an out of divorce process. And again, it's very different. One of the parents is in the morning, the other parent is in the afternoon, and they are hearing the same content at the same time, just in 2 different groups with other parents, men and women, or, mom role figures and dad role figures in both groups. So it's a safe environment with other parents where they get to hear dynamics of other parents, and they have the confidence of knowing that both of the sides of the equation are hearing the same information at the same time. So in that role, it's more teaching. And so, yes, I walk through what I just described in more of a teaching role, and then they have homework reflection items.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you have moms and dads in the same groups, because it's so important for both genders to be hearing the responses, the questions, the feedback from the other. We so often create stereotypes and make huge assumptions, especially gender-wise. And it's great to suddenly understand, hey, fathers can really be compassionate and empathic. Mothers aren't all controlling and greedy, and all of these stereotypes that people throw around. It's really valuable for them to hear what's going on for other parents and other people who are the same gender as them, just to understand they're not alone, and so many parents share similar challenges.
That is actually exactly the feedback and the special benefit in this last group program. I don't align this. I don't select the people who are going to, it's their own life experience. And so I had a mother and a father never met each other before anything. And their experiences were like mirror images of each other. So the mother had a lot of the emotion that the father was dealing with his real co-parent. And the mother had a lot of the emotions that the dad, and so they kept giving each other their perspective and advice. I didn't do anything. I was just sitting back and listening. And that is even more powerful to have a peer in the group be reflecting or mirroring back to you. So some of the parents and the other feedback that I have gotten is particularly in those that are going through the process and have yet to finish or finalize their parenting plan and agreement, they said, number one, we were so nervous and anxious, no therapist. The therapist fired us because we didn't get along. And so I didn't have any thought, but the fact I had such confidence knowing that my soon-to-be co-parent was actually hearing this, not with me in the room, but was hearing the same stuff. And intuitively that person was saying, okay, so at least we can align because at least we're getting the same information.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Janet, we're going to take a real quick break right now. You've been listening to WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. This is Rosalind Sedacca with Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and this is Rosalind Sedacca with Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living on WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. And we're talking to divorce and co-parenting coach, Janet Price. And Janet specializes in working with high conflict divorce clients. And she has a wealth of information that she's been sharing with us about the way she approaches talking to her clients, whether alone and privately or in groups, and the way she's able to unravel a lot of high conflict divorce. So what are other ways that you may be able to get both parents more in alignment so they can proceed through the divorce in a better way than when they came to you, either one of them?
So another strategy that I really do is help them understand that when a divorce occurs, really each parent becomes a single parent. And that is one of the things that adds a lot of the high conflict, because as we talked about before, they have not unraveled the intimate partner dynamic. They're using the co-parenting thing as sort of still connected emotionally in that way. And in a lot of the high conflict, there's an unequal power balance that is going on. And so by understanding that really truly in each parent's house, they are the decision maker. It's their home. They are the leader of their household for their children when the children are with them. That is a first step in then walking down, okay, you are the only person here in your home that's making decisions for your children. Maybe there are, bonus parents, but from the children's perspective, that's where the buck stops here. The next level is, so knowing that, what are your parenting values? What do you want? What do you think is important for your children? And then when they have figured that, define that for themselves, some of the parents I work with have been in the role of the breadwinner, whether it's a man or a woman or whatever. And so actually some of the conflict comes in them not actually having much knowledge about the age and appropriateness or developmental growth for their children. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes, particularly in the one-on-one, what I'm doing is coming alongside them and helping educate them more as like a parent educator, to be honest, to help them define their values and help them stand up tall in their own decision making. Others are very solid and actually expect, and this is why I said single parent, they are expecting, because they were the one that was traditionally more the nurturing and stay-at-home parent, and they're expecting their rules to be followed in both households. And now, because they're separate, that is not a desired state any longer. And for some families it is. Like, yeah. Rosalind, in the work that you work, parents can come together and walk through that together and come up with a plan together. And that is obviously the best for children when parents can do that. Mm-hmm. But it's okay. This is the thing I really wish I had known from the beginning, because I believed most people feel the word co-parenting means we are aligned, we're communicating all the time, quite possibly we're doing joint parties, quite possibly we're going back and forth, and then they evaluate their co-parenting relationship based on that definition. Mm-hmm. There are some couple dynamics that just will never be able to get to that.
Absolutely.
And the more they force to try to get to that, the higher the conflict gets.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish I had known, and I really want people to understand that assessing their own communication between while they were in the best in their marriage, and really looking at it and knowing what their dynamics is okay. And don't measure yourself up to the idea that is what everybody thinks. Your children will be okay as long as you have the right support structure for your co-parenting dynamic. And in your home, you are modeling healthy, emotional and developmental stages for your children.
Yeah, because that's what all children need, regardless of what's going on with the parents. So I want to stop for just a moment and give you an opportunity to let people know how to find you and the information of what you have available.
Well, thank you, Rosalind. Of course, I am participating, was calling you all year, looking forward to participating in the ICC-D, International Child Centered Divorce Month. Mm-hmm. So I have an ebook on there. It is titled Setting Yourself for Successful Co-Parenting from Day One. So you can find me there. Beyond that, my website is www.jpcoachingandconsulting.com. And the landing page you will see just basic, and you can find more about me and then do a complimentary strategy session if you wanted to learn more.
Excellent. So in the time we have left, I wanted you to give us some takeaway thoughts that you wish you would be able to share with all parents who are contemplating divorce or going through it right now, because it can help them unwind a lot in advance and help eliminate a lot of the struggles that we see too often.
I would love, thank you for asking. I have 7 things I really wish I had known at the very beginning. 1, it's impossible to know how to co-parent when you've never done it. So important. This is a new skill for everyone. And for anybody who's thinking, once I sign that document, I'm automatically a co-parent and here we go. It's all brand new skills. And it's so important to see it that way and to give yourself grace if it's a little rocky in the beginning. That's why Rosalind and I and others are around to help support, because we've learned it ourselves. We've received training, and we realize that it takes a tribe to help the children. Really, so that's number 1. You heard me say before, number 2 tip is to really understand that there is a spectrum of what the word co-parenting can mean. And so finding out and looking internally of how your dynamics is, and then setting your expectations for that dynamics would be my next recommendation. Don't hold the bar, keep up with the Joneses of what you think the best co-parenting when it just may not be possible. Which goes to that third, it's okay. Some dynamics don't need to have that, meaning your communication is still always about the children. You still share the key information about your children. You just don't seek to align on everything the way we think about that traditional word. Number 4 is the single parent idea, and then identifying your own values for your parenting and what you'd like. Number 6 is, I think I'm a 6.
5.
Yes, 5. Thank you. 5. It's totally okay if there are completely different rules. Of course, we're talking about the normal safety range in 2 households. And that I remember, and I have so many parents that stress out over those kinds of things. But if you think about it from this standpoint, what better way for children to start regulating and learning and seeing what they like and don't in their safe household of each of their parents, and navigating different personalities? Those are skills that they need in school when they meet something different, in working environments. So it's okay. That's something to know. 5, 6, children will be okay as long as they have loving parents in their household and they're not involved in the conflict. So let go of everything else, like I talked rules and all of that, and spend most of your focus on how you can be safe, emotionally stable, and help your children when they're with you, instead of fussing on all the arguing and not being present for your children when they're with you. And last, which I started with, is co-parenting doesn't happen overnight at all. And I think it's something that people feel they cannot begin to speak, but there are lots of resources. Use the International Child-Centered Divorce Month to find those resources. There are so many people out there that are supporting anyone who's starting or go through in co-parenting that you can find for your needs.
Excellent. Well, this has been wonderful. Janet Price, you're filled with such valuable and insightful information to help parents through the divorce and co-parenting process. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you so much, Rosalind, for having me here today.
And if you're listening during the month of January, then there's a special website that is up for International Child-Centered Divorce Month, and that is divorced with an ED, divorcedparentsupport.com, divorcedparentsupport.com. And the rest of the year, you can find child-centered divorce information at childcentereddivorce.com. I'm Rosalind Sedacca, founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network, and it's always a pleasure being with you. I hope you'll join us again. Bye-bye for now.